Yamaha's new V4 engine was supposed to mark the beginning of their comeback. After years of promises, investment, and development, the Japanese manufacturer finally had the answer to Ducati's dominance. The inline-4 was gone, the V4 had arrived, and Sepang was meant to prove it worked. Instead, on the second day of official testing, Yamaha made a decision almost unprecedented in modern MotoGP. The team pulled every rider off the circuit and shut down completely. Not reduced running, not limited laps, a total shutdown. The garage doors stayed closed for an entire day while Ducati, Honda, Aprilia, and KTM continued building race pace. Officially, Yamaha called it precautionary. But when a factory team loses an entire test day to safety concerns with their flagship technical project, the paddock doesn't hear caution. It hears crisis. After years defending an inline-4 while every competitor moved to V4 concepts, Yamaha finally committed to the switch. The V4 was supposed to arrive tested, refined, and ready. The official explanation was measured and procedural. A technical issue had been identified on Fabio Quartararo's bike late on day one, related to the new V4 engine. Engineers needed time to diagnose the root cause before allowing further running. We know what part might be causing it, but we do not yet know the exact cause and need more time to check everything properly. Team manager Massimo Meregali confirmed. Safety and reliability took precedence over track time. The investigation required a full day. That explanation is accurate. It is also, in the context of modern factory MotoGP, extraordinarily damaging. Pulling bikes mid-test for reliability concerns signals instability beyond normal development challenges. It suggests the platform is not merely unrefined, but potentially unsafe in ways engineers cannot immediately explain. When a manufacturer keeps riders in the garage for an entire official test day, it is managing a crisis in real time. The timing of that crisis matters. Yamaha has positioned the V4 project as the technical foundation for its return to competitiveness. That narrative was aimed at sponsors, partners, and, critically, at Fabio Quartararo. Quartararo's contract expires at the end of 2026, and reports surfaced before Sepang that he was in discussions with Honda about a 2027 move. His relationship with Yamaha has deteriorated across 2 difficult seasons. The V4 was supposed to be proof that development promises were finally being delivered. Instead, Quartararo broke a finger on day one, experienced an engine stoppage that afternoon, and then watched the program shut down while Honda's riders continued testing. The optics are brutal. Honda, the team Quartararo is widely expected to join, completed its Sepang program without major incident. Ducati's 5 entries dominated the timesheets. Aprilia showed consistent pace. KTM demonstrated progress. Yamaha sat idle, managing an engine issue serious enough to halt all operations. For a rider already questioning his manufacturer's trajectory, that day of silence spoke louder than any technical briefing could. Paddock reaction was immediate and pointed. Pol Espargaro, speaking on DAZN, did not soften his assessment. The V4 not only lacks top speed, 15 km per hour less, but the engines are breaking down, he said. The V4 project is not going very well. That is not speculation. That is a former factory rider with direct insight into manufacturer development timelines, publicly stating that Yamaha's flagship technical project is fundamentally troubled. When rivals start saying the quiet part out loud, the narrative has already shifted. What compounds the damage is what came before Sepang. Yamaha's V4 had already appeared in wildcard entries during 2025, ridden by test rider Augusto Fernandez. Even then, Paddock sources indicated the engine had not been run at full power, with performance limited by reliability concerns, and a safe mode operating window. The official test at Sepang was supposed to be the first opportunity for race riders to evaluate the production spec V4 under realistic conditions. Instead, it confirmed that the issues flagged during wildcards had not been resolved. Both Quartararo and Razgatlioglu broke engines on day one. Yamaha's solution was not a fix, it was a shutdown. Quartararo's comments after day one were strikingly pessimistic for a rider whose public messaging is usually carefully managed. "I can't say I'm confident," he admitted. "You could see how much we were struggling. Our lap times weren't very good." When asked if the V4 felt refined compared to rival manufacturers' engines, his answer was blunt. "I think our V4 isn't as refined as the others. We still have a lot of work ahead of us regarding turn-in, traction, electronics, grip, and power. There are still many things that need adjusting." That is not the language of a rider who believes the project is on track. That is the language of someone managing expectations downward in real time. For Razgatlioglu, the situation carries different but equally serious implications. He joined Yamaha specifically because the manufacturer offered him a factory-supported platform for his MotoGP debut. The V4 was supposed to be the machine that allowed him to close the adaptation gap to the category's established stars. Instead, his first official test involved breaking an engine, sitting out an entire day, and returning to a detuned bike with mileage restrictions designed to preserve a limited parts inventory. He is learning MotoGP on a prototype that Yamaha itself does not yet trust to run at full capacity. The Buriram test, scheduled for February 21st and 22nd, now carries weight far beyond normal pre-season preparation. Yamaha has promised new engines will be available, finally allowing riders to run without the mileage caps and power restrictions that defined Sepang. Whether those engines represent genuine progress remains to be seen. Buriram will be watched not as a development opportunity, but as a referendum on whether the V4 project can be salvaged before the season begins. Rival teams are already drawing conclusions. When a factory as established as Yamaha loses an entire test day to reliability concerns, competitors do not view it as an isolated incident. They view it as confirmation that the technical gap is wider than Yamaha has publicly acknowledged, and that the timeline to close it is longer than one season can provide. In a paddock where psychological warfare is constant, and perception shapes contract negotiations, sponsorship confidence, and rider market leverage, Yamaha's day of silence at Sepang was not just a technical setback. It was a strategic concession that rivals will exploit for months. The first race arrives on March 1st in Thailand, 1 week after the Buriram test concludes. Yamaha will line up with a V4 that has, to this point, been defined, more by what it cannot yet do than by what it has achieved. Whether that changes in the next 3 weeks will determine not just the manufacturer's 2026 season, but the trajectory of the entire project and the future of the riders betting their careers on it.